something good. And the question is, how can your brain be hacked? And the answer is, well, it doesn't get hacked with computer code, but it gets hacked with false information. And in fact, we've had false information since the time of the Romans. It's called propaganda. So what's the difference between marketing, which is what companies say they do, and propaganda? And the answer is the truth. That's the difference. When companies express a point of view that furthers their goals, then that point of view references true facts. That's called marketing. When a company expresses a point of view and tries to advance its goals based on misinformation, that's called propaganda. So the difference between marketing and propaganda is the truth. The corporations of America today have engaged in a very specific attempt to market their propaganda in order to get us to do different things than we might otherwise have done. Examples. The easiest one, of course, is food, and the one that I've written about previously. The idea that foods can be healthy goes back a long way. In fact, not eating food is not healthy. It's called starvation. The question is, which foods are the ones that ultimately lead to health? And the answer is not the ones that the food industry has touted. In fact, we have the data that demonstrates that they knew what they were doing. When we went low fat in the 1970s, the Sugar Association knew what it was doing. In fact, there is a now paper trail of the communications between the Sugar Association and two Harvard School of Public Health scientists to specifically exonerate sugar and finger saturated fat as the culprit for our cardiovascular disease debacle. Turns out, we now have the data to show that that was completely untrue, that we have actually experienced an increase in obesity, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, lipid problems, cancer, and dementia because of our processed food diet, which we were told was healthy. And they knew back in the 1970s that that was not the case. That's black hat hacking. Our minds have been hacked to believe certain things that are not true. And it's been a very specific corporate plot. Now, I won't go so far as to say it was a conspiracy, because we do not have data that says that different corporations colluded with each other to specifically defraud the American public and to inflict malice upon the American public. But we do have the data to show that individual companies engaged in their own plots to do so. Another example, of course, was tobacco. Tobacco made it very clear for many years that there was no relation between nicotine and addiction, except that they had the data that said otherwise. And they lied to Congress very specifically. So, tobacco, alcohol, food, guns, energy, these are all hedonic substances and or behaviors, and they have costs. And we're paying those costs now. We're paying it in terms of our addiction crisis. We're paying it in terms of our opioid, our depression crisis. We're paying it in terms of lives lost, and we're paying it in terms of our healthcare debacle. And you can't reverse it till you understand it. You can't pull yourself out of the ditch until you figure out how you drove into it.